and the village communities as tenant organization of tenants, by which law all gaonkas or all village communities came under the Portuguese.
That is the first blunder that the Portuguese administration did. But they were clever enough to recognize this blunder, and this blunder came through certain influences of the landlords of Hidalgos.
However, during Portuguese time, there were also a lot of positive incentives for cultivation of lands. A person who opts for bidding but does not cultivate his land was fined. One could not auction it and then pass it on. One could not participate in the auction, bid for the land and then pass it on to someone else. That could not be done. And there were functionaries assigned within comunidades who were assigned a particular function. For example, there was a piney watchman who would see whether there is any breach in the bunds. And this, if there was any breach noticed, it had to be repaired within 24 hours. After post-liberation, now, Goa merged into the Indian Union, and the laws which were applicable in other parts of India were made applicable to Goa. For example, Agriculture Reforms Act 1964. Now, according to this, the person who cultivated the land became the deemed purchaser of the land, became the owner of the land. These policies were very good in the rest of India, where huge lands were owned by one landowner and there were many cultivators. However, in Goa, we had lands which were commonly managed by comunidad, commonly owned and commonly managed by comunidades. So these lands which were managed and owned communally became individual property.
The comunidades went into a doldrum. They practically gave up and they were not functioning properly. They were hardly interested in the lands.
Now comunidades, as you know, they used to, the gaonkars used to manage this land, cultivate this land in turn. So one did not know which plot would be cultivated by whom. So they were managing it together. Now when they became individual owners, the people who own land away from the bund, away from the rivers, a line side of the river, had no incentive in protecting the bunds or protecting the sluice gate. So the revenue for the comunidades also decreased. Now they were managed by tenant associations. Another effect was that comunidades had paid functionaries. There were separate functions assigned to particular person. After during tenant association now, they are all honorary officers. There are no paid functionaries. So people don't have incentive in doing a particular work.
Today we are displaced from this occupation and we are made to take refuge in non-agricultural ventures, which is harming our nature, our peace-loving nature. We are becoming very aggressive to survive in the competitive world, which we did not have to do as long as we were cultivating the land.
There are still, and we call it, he's a badkar.
Okay.
Means he lives with the profits of the land.
Okay.
Others live with white collar jobs.
Okay.
And all our carpenters, laborers, mechanics come from outside Goa.
Okay.
How is it so?
The comunidades were organized basically on shareholding basis. You were assured of your dividends, so you could go out of Goa. Now in Goa, from this time onwards, 1900 onwards, you have people migrating out of Goa, especially to Bombay. And the population which is out of Goa for employment purposes in Bombay, they were in Karachi, less in number, they were in Calcutta. Many earlier went to Africa, to Portugal itself. From the old conquest, more than 25% of the population was working outside Goa. When you hear that sound, pong pong in the morning, it's a migrant. Because you do not get a Goan to do that job, and even if someone does it, his economic status is not anything to be envied about, to look that, okay, this man is a poder but is well off. So therefore everyone is going out for better prospect. When people are going out for better prospect, you cannot prevent it. So can we prevent people from coming into Goa? We need their service. Is it possible that we take the service of migrants and tell the migrants not to be here? Is it possible? You want the breadman to come in the morning, you want bread. But is it possible not to have the breadman? We want milk, but we don't want the milkman. We want vegetables. But can we have a situation whereby we have vegetables and we do not want a vegetable vendor? Understood? So, if Comunidad land was to go, for such people at least was okay.
I have this idea that in Goa, everybody has a piece of land. Even if it is a small piece of land, everybody in Goa has a piece of land. Do you think this is a consequence of the Gaonkari system, the Comunidad system?
As compared to other parts of India, in many other parts of India, the land happened to be under the control of individual people. Whereas here, land basically mainly was within the confines of the village communities. And as we have discussed, land with the comunidades means it is common land. And common land is always encroached upon by people. So you have most people or almost everyone in Goa having a piece of land. It's also because of the laws that which have been passed in the post-liberation period, Tenancy Act, Munkar Act, whereby those who have been occupying or in possession of land have been allowed to purchase it, and the Bhatkas are told to sell it to those who have been occupying the land, to their Munkas for a very long time. And that's how most of us, most Goans are owners of land.
What is happening today is very often the private holder, maybe some other outsider or whatever it is, he may be out of Goa or he may be somebody, a builder. Basically, if he is building with some purpose for the Goan community, it's different. But if there's somebody who is building just for his own sake and you take a land gifted by the government, then it makes no sense.
Tudo não pode ser transformado em terreno de habitação, porque depois já sabe que ecologicamente é gravíssimo, não é? Hoje já começa a ter muito menos água do que tinha, e esse é um problema grave.
People are very much attached to the land. You remove the land from Goan history, land from the Goan culture, then we do not see ourselves as a culture, or our identity is lost. So most of the agitations you will see, movements you will see, they are directly linked to land and real estate and the market that has come with the land. So that is because, you know, the earlier, for thousands of years, there was no idea of the individual ownership of land. Suddenly now, those forces outside Goa and outside India who want to invest in Goa, they would say that whatever rules or norms or legislations, they say that legally they are doing it all. But it is a too small a state where you cannot deprive the local communities, the local people who are entitled for the land. They want their local traditional rights to be respected in those pieces of land. You cannot, you can drive them out and create internal ecological refugees. This is the fear.
We don't have roads that can cater to the amount of vehicles we have now. How are we going to look at that? I think first we should plan the infrastructure and what is the capacity that Goa can take before we plan housing projects.
Development can be done in many ways. Development doesn't mean finishing the greenery of Goa and the natural places, the nature of Goa, and putting concrete structures. That doesn't mean, that we are going to
just let somebody have their own way by spoiling Goa. So we Goans have got together now to maintain our identity of what Goa was and what Goa should be.
So the Comunidad as an institution, I think, had fallen into disgrace practically. So the question is, how can the Comunidad also today, my question is, how can a Comunidad hold such a vast land without profitably, economically using it? That's the first question. The second question, how can they do it? That's very important. Thirdly, whether they should allow the government to do as they want, or they should be able to control the government. So for this you require a lot of research, because there are various interests today. The interests are, first there is a Comunidad interest. Second, Comunidad represented Goan identity for some time. It no longer does. Thirdly, they involve a lot of money in building up this Goan interest, in supporting Goan interest. They no longer do it. So the thing is, there has to be a kind of a research, economically, socially, and legally, on the Comunidad system. How to use this system in order to empower the society.
The Comunidades was a very good system that existed in Goa. Unfortunately, this system has been kept aside, and it's when the new system of our land revenue and basically land revenue and the collectorate system that was brought in by British rule, when this really came in, that's when our Comunidad system was dying. That is exactly what we are advocating now, is how the people look after their own village. This was actually the Comunidad system. Our Comunidades today, unfortunately, in most areas, the lands have gone, the Comunidad lands have gone, because of the new system. I don't know how much we will be able to save what is left through the Comunidad system, but if we can save that, and if we can have the actual Comunidad system working the way it should, nothing like it. But how much of it that we can salvage today, and how bad, in fact, our Comunidades themselves have gone so corrupted, the entire system. Now whether we can get out of that and we can go back to the actual system that we had before, it's a difficult task, but maybe it's worth trying. We may succeed, we may not, but we are advocating that type of system where the village looks after itself, the village plans for itself, and this is exactly what the Comunidad system was.
E pronto, chegamos ao fim de mais um Contacto Goa. Espero que tenham gostado de estar connosco. Nós ficamos por aqui. Até daqui a 15 dias. Este programa é patrocinado por Centro Cultural Comunicar.